Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's lesson. We are moving on to lesson number 5, which is on adding and subtracting fractions. Okay, we've done adding and subtracting decimals, where our rule, was to line up our decimals, and for adding and subtracting fractions, we'll have a different set of rules that we need to follow. Okay, and that main and most important rule is to get like denominators. Okay, and if you don't remember, the denominator is the number on the bottom of the fraction, and the numerator is the number on top. So if you want to write that down, if you don't remember, go ahead. So we have numerator and denominator. All right, so we need to get like denominators to make sure that our denominators are the same number before we can add them. Okay, an example of that would be like, if you had a pizza and it was cut into 8 slices, or let's just do 4 slices, and you had another pizza and it was cut into 8 slices. So, like so, one of these would not equal one of these. Rather, it would equal 2 of them. So to be able to compare fractions, we need to make sure that our denominators are the same. So we'd need to cut this one again into eighths to make sure that they're the same. And that's what our first fraction is. It says 5/8 plus 1/8. And then write your answer in simplest form. Okay. Well, what's nice about this is that our denominators are already both 8. That is really convenient, and we don't have to do anything to make sure that we get them to the same one because they already are alike. So then all we need to do is add the numerators and keep the denominator. So we keep 8 because it's like, and then 5 plus 1 would give us a total of 6/8. And then we just need to simplify that. So ask yourself, what do 6 and 8 have in common? Okay, well, they're both even, so you could divide them each by 2. And that would give you 3/4. Okay, and that would be our final answer. All right, and let me just kind of show you that in a model here. So again, I'm going to use the pizzas. It's a really nice one to use. And this one I'm going to split into eighths. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And I'm going to show you that that's equal to 3/4. So this one is going to be into fourths. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So here I have 6/8. So I only have 2 pieces that are not that are left over. Maybe I could say this part is eaten. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I have 2 pieces left. And here I have 3 out of the 4 pieces eaten. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. We can see that now the area that's left, or our leftovers, are the same. Okay, it's just simplified down. Or if you put it in pizza terms, it's just cut less times. Okay, let's try letter B, where it's similar, except now we are subtracting. But again, you'll notice that our denominators are like. So again, we'll subtract the numerators and keep the denominators. So notice here how we kept 11 because it's common, and then we just take 9 minus 4 to give us 5/11ths. And 5 and 11 don't have anything more in common besides 1, and so then it's in simplest form. And so 5/11ths would be our final answer. All right, let's try an example where our denominators are not like, and we have to make them so that they are like. And what the book is going to tell you to do, and what I would advise you to do as well, is use the LCM. Remember, that stands for the least common multiple. Okay, so we have a denominator of 6 and a denominator of 8. So those are not like we need to find a like denominator between the two. Well, remember, multiples of 6 and 8, it's just that this number times 1, this number times 2, this number times 3. So just count by 6s, 6, 12, 18, 24, 30, and you could keep going. And for 8, it would be 8 plus 8 would be 16, plus 8, 24, plus 8, 32. Okay, which is the least, so the smallest number that they have in common? Well, that would be 24. So the LCM of the denominator is 24. All right, so in other words, I'm going to try to get 5, 6 into an equivalent fraction, but now I'll write it with a denominator of 24. And I'm also going to try to get my other number, 7/8, into an equivalent fraction written as 24ths. Okay, the way I can do that is ask myself, how did I go from 6 to 24? Well, I just multiply by 4, and whatever I do on the bottom, I also have to do on the top. So 5 times 4 will give me a total of 20. And in this fraction, 8 to 24, I multiply by 3. So 7 times 3 on top will give me 21. Okay, so you can see that's what they did here as well. They took 5 times 4 and 6 times 4, and 7 times 3 and 8 times 3. Okay, and then we'll rewrite these as 5, 6. We can rewrite as 20 24ths plus 7/8 was 21 24ths. Okay, so what we did was we wrote equivalent fractions using the common denominator. Okay, so 21 plus 20 would give us a total of 41, and keep your common denominator of 24. And then simplest form, we usually don't keep it as an improper fraction, we make it into a mixed number. So how many times does 24 go into 41? 1 full time. And how many left over would we have? Well, 41 minus 24, borrow 7 and 1. So 17 left over, and our denominator is 24. So 1 and 17 24ths would be our answer. Go ahead and flip to the back, and we'll try another problem where we're subtracting this time, and we need to first find a common denominator. Okay, so again, I'll use a different color here. Use the least common multiple if you can. The least common multiple between 3 and 4, well, I have 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. For 4, I have 4, 8, 12. Okay, here's the smallest they have in common, it's 12. And then how do I get 2/3 into 12ths? And how do I get 3/4 into 12ths? Well, here I need to multiply by 4. So I'll do the same on top. 2 times 4 would give me 8. So this would be 8/12ths. And to get from 4 to 12, I multiply by 3. So I do the same on top. 3 times 3 would give me 9/12ths. Again, we multiplied the denominators, and we did that to write equivalent fractions. 8/12ths is equivalent to 2/3, and 3/4 is equivalent to 9/12ths, using the common denominator. Okay, then all we have left to do is subtract. Okay, sorry I was cut off by my time restriction there, but I ended with saying that we had 8/12, 8/12 minus 9/12. Okay, so now we can keep our denominator of 12 since that is common, and then I just subtract my numerators. So I would do 8 minus 9. This should be popping out to you as, okay, when I was in elementary school, I couldn't take a smaller number minus a bigger number. So my answer has got to be negative. And then what would 9 minus 8 be? Well, 1. So negative 1/12 would be our answer. Okay, let's go to example 3, where we have a word problem now. It says, in one Earth year, so 365 days, Jupiter completes 1/12 of its orbit around the sun, while Mars completes about half of its orbit. How much more of its orbit does Mars complete than Jupiter? Okay, so when they ask how much more, that's a good indication that we're going to be using subtraction. That's kind of key word right there. So we're going to take Mars and subtract that from Jupiter. So we're going to take a half. We're going to subtract 1/12. Okay, and you'll notice I don't have common denominators right now. But what's really nice is I could easily get 2 to 12 so that my half could also be written in 12s. So I could get 2 to 12, and then it would be the same as Jupiter's. Okay, so to go from 2 to 12, I'd multiply by 6. And if I multiply by 6 in my denominator, I need to multiply by 6 in my numerator to keep my fraction equivalent. So 1 times 6 will give me 6. So that would be the same thing as, let me just show my work here. So that would be 1/2 times, I took that times 6 on top and bottom to get to 12ths. All right. So my least common multiple of the denominators is 12, and write equivalent fractions again. Okay, so again, I said 1/2 is the same as 6/12. And that makes sense because 6 is half of 12 and 1 is half of 2. So I'll be taking 6/12 and I'll subtract 1/12 using the common denominator. All right, which was 12. So 6 minus 1 would give me 5 and keep my common denominator of 12. So Mars completes 5/12 more of its orbit than Jupiter does. All right, today we'll finish up with 2 check it out problems. Please pause the video now so that you can try these 2 on your own and then come back to see if you got the same answer as I did. All right, first problem is nice because we have the same denominator. So we don't have to do anything. So we should keep our denominator of 6. And then what is 5 plus 1? That would be 6. Okay, in simplest form, well, 6 divided by 6 would give me 1. All right, and for number 2, it says subtract, write it in simplest form. Notice that we don't have a common denominator now, so we need to get one. Well, the least common multiple of 5 and 2, so 5, 10, 15, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. 10 would be the smallest that they have in common. So I'm going to try to get 2/5 to tenths. And I'm also going to try to get 1/2 to tenths. Okay, to go from 5 to 10 times 2. So 2 times 2 on top will give me 4. So this would be the same as 4/10 minus. Okay, a half written in tenths. Well, 2 to 10 multiplied by 5, same on top, would be 5 tenths. Okay, now I have the same denominator of 10, which is great. And then I just do 4 minus 5. Well, I couldn't do that in elementary school, so I know my answer must be negative, and 5 minus 4 will be 1. So my answer would be negative 1/10. And that does it for adding and subtracting fractions. Please let me know if you had any questions, and I will talk to you later.